I talk about MNPR. Um, I missed a ton of fades last week, and today I decided, hey, the common theme with fades last week was, insane parabolic and down only fade where, painted levels were not getting attacked pretty much in any way, right? So even if there was lower highs, even if there was bids down at support, you know what I mean? It wasn't rotating any. We're still in a market where very few stocks are rotating like this. And I actually thought this might happen, but I was like, you know what? Um, if I see bearish price action and I start to see the book get heavy at certain moments, especially on the initial bounces, I'm going to put positions on. Um, and, I'll set my risk somewhere up here and then, where the top of the bounce is. And then, if I get a rotation, I'll stop myself out and get back in if I like the price action. But overall, I was gonna bet on the continuation of last week's price action. So MNPR is really interesting. In the pre-market over here, I sent him a Discord. I was like, MNPR could be a really interesting penny runner because it had a couple very very bullish factors going for it in the pre-market. First of all, um, these quick pre-market pop and dumps can be very bullish in a strong market, and that's because there's a lack of consolidation up here. And especially on penny runners, I always make videos about how penny runners need to be put in their own category because of how bullish they are, right? Their daily charts are usually very bottomed out. And especially in structures like this where, somewhere around here, it was only gapped up like 40%. And we're in a market where things are going on, multiple 100% runs. So overall, there's just more long potential on a stock, especially a penny stock, um, giving a possible bullish structure with possible bullish volume, going on big runs. Now, I totally flubbed the long. I wasn't mad about missing the long here. I was mad about missing the long here because I'll show you some charts of how penny runners can move. And that's because, a lot of these quick dumps can be very bullish, right? Very, very bullish, right? Um, Especially they tend to pull back to, I made a whole video on the 1 minute 20 EMAs, but this one here is actually on the 1 minute 50, which could still be a good MA for this type of pattern. But yeah, I mean, anytime pennies, we saw this last week on SIEN. We've seen this in the past, especially 2023. I'll show you some charts from 2023 about these type of like big volume penny runners. This is like 500,000 shares in the pre-market, which is pretty significant. Um, Giving a quick pullback pattern, and we'll see the book on this. It was actually very bullish, and I was very, um, I was afraid. I just hesitated and then didn't go in, and then it started moving without me, and I was afraid of chasing and taking losses on the long. I was actually quite angry about missing that. Um, what's really funny is that first of all, you'll see that there was no really significant consolidation on the way up, which always has potential for things to fade pretty hard on the way down. But the other thing that's actually incredibly bearish, um, just how the best market open longs tend to be stocks at the bottom that push like this. The best market open shorts are actually stocks that open near the top of their pre-market range. This is actually a very bearish factor, especially a stock that was super aggressively pushed into market open. So I was actually expecting some type of pattern, but it up halted, opened lower, and usually in a strong market, a stock opening lower always has the chance to shake people out and squeeze one more time. So I was actually kind of waiting for that, and it didn't happen, and it down halted, and I was like, okay, VWAP and the 5 minute 9 were both right here. I'll wait for the reaction. I saw the reaction, and then there was ass stacked on the book here, and then ass started following it down, and that's when I went in. Not really big size because I used to make a lot of trades like these earlier in my career, but these kind of like chasing the rollover weakness type shorts, where it's like a stock makes a bounce and it starts to roll over, then I would short as the stock is rolling over. In most contexts, I don't like to do that nowadays. I just consider it another form of chasing. But this is really a situation where, um, because of the market conditions, a lot of times market conditions and the types of patterns happening in the market can give you insight to what price action is going to be like. And in the meantime, I am just, and this faded pretty much right down to the 5-minute 200. So I just covered near here. It doesn't need to exactly touch the 5-minute 200, but as long as it's generally close. Now, that's why you did see me take a cover here. We'll see on the book that this rotation was heavily supported on the book here. And I was afraid with my average kind of being sub 120 that, it might do a more low float type pattern, especially right here when up halted. I said in my Discord, I'm like, man, this is going to break or this could break, 120, 129s and low 130s, rotate into this empty space and then pull, right? That's a really common pattern, right? Where it's kind of like you get this massive down only move and then you rotate, squeeze the backside people like me chasing, and then you pull it. So I put my risk up here in like the mid 120s and it never got hit. And then it down halted again. And then this is when I said on my Discord, like, oh, they're painting higher lows. This is always a bearish factor where they paint like a clean trend line that everyone can see. So I was like, it's doing this choppy under VWAP soak, which usually means it's very controlled. Whenever you see VWAP soak, especially like 10, 15 plus minutes of doing stuff like this near market open, a lot of times they're building liquidity for some type of movement. Now, maybe that move could have been a big push here, or maybe it's something like this where they have the initial push, the secondary kind of retail push, and then the crack. And once this cracks, now these higher lows become super bearish because this is kind of like a lot of times they do these, whenever they paint higher lows, a very common thing to do is to do one last liquidity move, and that liquidity move could be something small like this, maybe it's something bigger. You never know, right? You never know what the liquidity move is going to be, but if that liquidity move stalls and comes back to the higher lows, then there's always a very good chance that those higher lows get cracked, right? And that's why you see me covering some in the 1-minute 200. I covered some here because I didn't like my average. I covered some in the 1-minute 200, and then I just held the rest of the day. Because I'm like, well, everything's been down only fading anyway, so might as well just hold for the 5-minute 200. We'll look at some book stuff. Here's some charts. So we'll go to first of all, let's go to pre-market, right? Pre-market had an initial pop and fade. Not a lot of shares, some decent shares traded early on, but not a lot of shares traded here. Not a lot of consolidation here. Penny runners are always bullish. You can see right here, the stock closed at 35 cents. And right here, it's trading at 47 cents. It's really not up that much relative to what the market's been giving us. So it by far has the most long potential. Retail thinking is they see the gapper that's up 200% and they want to long it, which, in a very specific context could be the right thing to do. But most of the time, you want to pay attention to the more bottomed out plays or the smaller gapping plays, right? Especially in a strong sector like penny stocks, and especially in a strong market. So when 600,000 shares comes in right here and does these quick dumps, this is what I really want to focus on. I'm really mad about missing this long. We'll see how the book looked right here, but we see the 1-minute 50 support and we see the rotation. But let's go to SIN from like 5 days ago, whatever it was. This right here, whatever pennies, whether it's pre-market with 600K volume or intraday with millions of shares of volume, right? If you see pennies trade a bunch of volume and give these quick dump moves, just know that, penny stocks always have the ability to go on massive runs, right? Pennies, I always say pennies have had more legs up than any other ticker in any other category. They were having legs up at times where low floats were all day fading at 8 a.m. in the morning. You know what I mean? like you get low floats fading at 8, 9 a.m. and then you would have pennies going on these massive moves, market open, intraday, pre-market, after hours. Didn't matter. Like pennies is just a strong category. Um, and yeah, so these quick dump moves where a lot of shorts are chasing. There's not a whole lot of consolidation or resistance. I mean, these always have a lot of strength. FEMI from this day is another example. This was actually before, this was September. Sorry, this was July 27th of last year, 2023. Um, this was actually before FEMI went on its crazy multi-day runner. Back when it was just a 50-cent penny stock, and we see at market open trades about a million shares a minute. These quick dump, rotation, quick dump, rotation, quick like these quick like look at these. This pattern is repeated a lot, and it just it matches with the counterintuitiveness of pennies and low floats, where a lot of times the more aggressive the move is down to support, the stronger it is. And it's the same way with low floats, where a lot of times the more aggressive the move towards high day, the weaker it is, right? Now, a lot of that depends on market conditions and what type of stock it is and what volume it's trading, what the book's looking like. I didn't actually have the book back then on this play, so I can't tell you what happened. But here's an amazing long trap. Study this candle. Look at this massive down only, aggressive backside clear out, stalls right at $1, and then fades 30%. I actually think this faded the next day too. Yeah, it did. Had a little gap down. So anyway, back to MNPR. The two main moments I'm actually just going to focus on was this pre-market action, especially this pullback to the 1 minute 50. We'll look you we'll look at, by the way, increasing consistent volume like this. This is strong. If anything, I missed a 1 minute 20 support here. I kind of wanted it to go a little lower, but it was so quick and it just rocketed straight. I talked about 1 minute 20 on Momo plays. If you see increasing volume, and look at this little walk down, 4 candle walk down to the 1 minute 20, instant rotation, like increasing volume, new highs, strongish market. There's no reason to short any of this price action in the pre-market. So anyway, let's go look at the book. This is that pullback to the 1 minute 50. If you were expecting it, I saw it, but I wasn't hyper focused. I actually even saw the bids, but then when I saw the rotation, it was kind of up here, and I could have chased it when this bid showed up. Actually, wouldn't have been the worst idea because of how empty the order book was to the upside. But it's hard to put on. You have to put on size on a 60-cent stock, and you don't want to get knifed because on these penny books tend to have a lot, just like low floats tend to have a lot of empty space. So when you start chasing, there's always a risk that you get a random 10% rent candle out of nowhere, right? But yeah, this was just so strong. A bunch of consistent volume came in. Book was kind of ambiguous. If anything, the ask looks pretty weak. There was a few bids with no ask to push this down, and there's no reason to trade this. Market open. Look how fast this was. They uphalted it at market open. It unhalts lower here. You can actually zoom in. You can't see this on your screen, but it's in the bottom left corner. It says this was 9:35 a.m. in 40 seconds. It downhalted at 9:35 a.m. in 41 seconds. This is you can see the time frame down here. This is about 1.5 seconds of trading for this downhalt. Pretty much impossible to make a read. And then here's what I shorted. I shorted when so it unhalts out of the downhalt. I want to see some type of ask pushing the staff. I'm going to be chasing this. I at least want some, preferably an ask and a follow-up ask. So this is actually where I shorted over here. Was when this 130 ask held, and then this 120 guy came in. This is why my average was down here, because I was like, and then I knew there was tight halt bands, so I knew the down halt level would be pretty close, and I just wanted to get in with some size. My 930 cover was down here we can actually see these bidders holding, bidders holding, bidders holding. And you can see the stacks of bidders down here. And a relatively empty order book to the upside. Just these plays have been fading so hard, I did not want to have a bullish bias down here. But I did start covering, you could see the rotations happening here. There's this clear, like, kind of like 93, 94 range. Um, and once the bidders held and started rotating, and especially, you could see the bidders kind of come in here. I just wanted to get out, or not get out, but cover some of my shares because I was afraid of the rotation. And then, yeah, I mean, here's that uphalt. It unhalted. Here's that 120, the 120 guy who was actually the original ask that I was risking. Um, he was still there, and there were orders up here, so I was kind of risking these guys. Um, but I was actually fully expecting rotation, maybe up to this 130 guy or 135, and it just rolled over, and that was, and that was like outside of that one, little liquidity move. What's nice about this liquidity move was the lack of bid follow up. This is like you have the higher low paint with a lack of bid follow up, especially on the second retail push. Actually, really nice. And then it all day faded. So that's MNPR. But I did want to cover, some bullish penny structure, right? Penny stocks are strong. This market's trading range. This wasn't gapped up a lot. And then the other one was this big increasing volume, making new highs, new highs, new highs, new highs, new highs. No reason to try to short, be a hero. Just wait for some. And then, yeah, I mean, a stock opening near the top of its range is bearish, but it doesn't always mean you're going to get a clean pattern up here. Like I said, like trading this candle was almost impossible. This was like a 1 second candle right here. This red candle was like, or then you would have had a short like into the uphalt. Both of those things extremely difficult to do, and honestly quite foolish in a lot of cases to just be blindly shorting into uphalts, especially when a stock's trading 2 million shares a minute. That being said, parabolic into, actually, if you want to see another like parabolic into the open, BPTH, no, BL, BLPH on BLPH. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to remember the ticker where this happened. Oh, wait, it's because, um, yeah, this day. 1/5/23 BLPH on the OTC. If you're wondering why I remember all these trades, is because um, I go back and look at a lot of charts. So yeah, another big up only parabolic into opening near the top of its range, and insta fade. It actually kind of held up, but I mean, this is 3.5s all the way to 2.1. So look at the walk down. Big volume push, walk down into, look at his down only walk down, massive rotation. Exactly how low floats move. And then, parabolic into the open with an instant dump. Just this is a classic low float chart. Worth remembering. But yeah, stocks opening near the top of the range, especially ones that aggressively push into the top of the range right before market open. Um, with really minimal support levels down below. I mean, it's quite bearish. Anyway, that's my video for today. MNPR. You guys have a good one. See you tomorrow.